My name is Danny Torbett, and I am the Analyst Relations Manager for Decisions, the low-code application automation platform. And I'm so psyched to be joined today by our Director of Revenue Operations and King of AI at Decisions, Derek Hippa, and
Hello.
Process Mining Ninja, Mark Klein. Thanks so much for joining, guys. How are you doing today?
Fantastic.
I saw you
Fantastic.
yesterday at QBR. It was good to see your faces. A
Yours
couple
good,
of
Danny.
plugs before we get rolling, everybody. We are getting ready for Submerse next week here in Virginia Beach. It's a great time to come to the beach. All the tourists have come home, and we still have spots. We'd love for you to join us. Submerse are 3-day intensive deep dive training events that we hold. We bring together our founders and our architects and our engineers and our developers and put them all in a room. We take some training in the platform. We have a beginner's track and a master's track for people that have experience in the platform. We have 2 upcoming events. First, the one that I just mentioned. And actually, I believe that's it for live events for us this year. Is that right, Chase? Chase is our producer. I believe that's correct. Other upcoming events that we have, though, are our next webinar, AI Insights for Superior Call Coaching and Meeting Performance, a tool that our sales team has found really useful. And be sure, if you are in Austin next week, to check out Connected Claims as we meet with a bunch of our insurance customers and talk about claims processing. In fact, we're going to talk a little bit about insurance claims processing today, so get ready. As the Analyst Relations Manager, I'd be remiss if I didn't make a plug for our most recent analyst report. Decisions was recognized as a major contender for process mining. We're going to talk a little bit about process mining today. And we have recently been invited to participate in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for process mining. So we're super excited about that. Speaking of process mining, also have Mark Klein with us today. Mark, can you tell us about the process mining offer that you have today?
Yeah, absolutely. So if after this webinar, if you're interested in learning more about process mining and want to see if there's any value to you, we are offering a complimentary analysis of your claims process. So if you drop me a note, email here on the slide, it's at mark.klein@decisions.com. Please hit me up and we can chat about your courtesy analysis.
Absolutely. You're going to just pop it right into chat. Mark will interact with you live here. So I'm really excited about that. So we're going to have some Q&A at the end, but the chat is open. We'd like a spicy chat here at Decision. So if you have a question that pops into your mind, just shout it out into chat. We'd be happy to answer it for you in real time. We've got a bunch of folks here from Decisions On to answer any technical questions that you might have. So let's talk about the agenda for today. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Decisions platform, and then I'm going to introduce our friends from Fire Recovery and talk a little bit about their customer story and then how they're using AI in their automation claims processing. And then we'll take a look at how process mining has uncovered a bunch of really interesting insights about how to streamline that part of their business. So Decisions is a low-code automation platform. And these are the tools that we provide to you. They require no coding experience, no software development experience at all. The first is a rules engine. It's a system that allows you and users to define, manage, and execute business rules. It enables businesses to keep that logic consistent and centralized. It also comes with an integration layer to weave a connection between all of your applications and systems, breaking down silos and ensuring that data flows smoothly, accurately, and in real time. It comes with a workflow manager, which facilitates the creation of and management and execution of business workflows, allowing tasks to move from one step to another based on a predefined criteria. We'll also take a look today at process mining, which examines business processes based on logs and helps in discovering process patterns, identifying bottlenecks, and suggesting improvements. And finally, Decisions comes with an interface designer to build engaging user or customer experiences through things like web pages, dashboards, portals, reports, forms, and really brilliant visualizations. Let's talk about the 3 areas of automation where Decisions really shines. And the first one is that pure business rules or decisioning application. Our rules engine is a place to centralize business logic and expose that logic to business users, not software engineers, to be able to edit and maintain those rules using graphical design tools. What that does is it gets the logic out of stored procedures, web pages, custom code, or puts it or your team's head, right? And puts it in a place where you can easily maintain it and change it without diving into the code. It's enterprise class. It runs millions of transactions a day across thousands of rules in areas like medical claims processing, insurance underwriting, mortgage processing. For example, Roche Genentech, we're formatting and enhancing clinical trial lab data across all of their global trials. The next use case is what we call extend and expand. It's really common when we work with a customer, they already have some out of the box major projects that need to be a part of their automation solution. That can be CRMs, ERPs, databases, or other products that are built to handle just a part of the process. Decisions is designed to integrate with these existing out of the box solutions and automate the special processes that they don't do well. Things like human in the loop approval processes, for instance. We'll take a look at some of that today. To do this, we've got a bunch of different ways. We have several out of the box connectors, integrations. You can see some of those here. But most importantly, Decisions is an open API system, so we can connect to most modern platforms. We provide a .NET SDK and several other ways to make connections to legacy systems. If you have a specific system that you're wondering about today, drop it right into the chat and we'll get you an answer in live time. Taking the previous example a step further, we often act as an orchestration layer between different applications. If you have several applications that have users and data in, you can use decisions as a middleware to bring together all that data. Bring data in from one application to trigger an activity in another, or populate an outcome in yet another. Our most common use case is to act as an orchestration layer between various software applications or services, and then engage end users in workflows that cross those application boundaries. If you found any of that interested and you'd like to learn more about the Decisions platform, just drop us an email at sales@decisions.com or pipe up in chat. We'd love to hook you up with one of our brilliant sales engineers and see if Decisions can help you streamline your business. Now we get to the good stuff. Thanks, everybody, for the demo-y, salesy bits. Let's get on to the good stuff, right? So excited to have my favorite client here, Fire Recovery USA. We're joined today by Steve Kroom, Chief Technology Officer, and Kevin Brown, Development and Sales Consultant. Kevin, I think that you need to change your title to just straight up decisions developer, man. The things that you have done in the platform in such a short time is really amazing. And Steve, thanks so much for making some time for us out of your busy schedule. Say hi, guys.
Good afternoon, everyone. Really glad to be here. Really glad to take this opportunity and show you what Decisions has done for us. It's been an extremely helpful platform in helping us to optimize our workflows.
I love it. Let's tell us a little bit about the business.
So Fire Recovery USA is a cost recovery platform for fire departments across the country. Currently, we have over 1,800 clients. The process here is that these departments go out, make incidents in their area, or do inspections in which they need to collect cost recovery for. And we are the company that provides that service for them. Most fire departments do not have the staffs available to them to facilitate this kind of service. So we gather the data necessary to do the billing for them, bring that into our systems, do all of the follow-up to ensure that the payments are made, and then distribute out their portion and keep a little piece, kind of like a credit card company, if you would.
Gotcha. So tell us about how you're doing. Or you were doing it before you met us, and let's talk about this problem statement. And we hear this all the time, right? When companies come to us with a manual process that they're trying to automate, this story is consistent through all of them, right? The process of recovering incident claims, labor intensive, it's error prone, it's time consuming, and it makes it difficult for to maintain the necessary human resources to do all that, right? If you're going out and looking up stuff and doing manual lookups and taking data from one platform and filling it into another, we hear that so often, right? Tell us a little bit about the challenges that you saw.
Yeah, as Danny mentions there, it is a process intensive uh, flow, right? And so the long and short of that is we're also dealing with insurance companies to where we're submitting these claims. And at the end of the day, they're very particular about the information that they have to have in order to make a payment. So gathering that information in the detailed level at the detailed level necessary to submit the claim is a big deal on our side. Now, granted, we have a lot of processes where we import some of that data from other records management systems.
Mhm.
We're actually using decisions to do that. And then we populate the necessary data on our side and review the information that's provided to us and create an invoice from that process.
Mhm.
We've been able to take decisions and actually get AI involved in that, as you guys will see here today.
Gotcha. The one thing that I noticed from this slide that I also hear all the time, it's hard to retain employees, right? To do repetitive, mundane tasks like this, right? To go to one information system, pull the data that you need, take that, copy it, enter into another system, right, over and over and over again.
Absolutely, and as you see here on the slides here, it's prone to errors, right?
Mhm.
There's missed opportunities.
Right.
We're going through and trying to have a human read through a narrative from a fire department,
Right.
and from that narrative derive at the billing elements that are billable, that we can make a claim for. So at the end of the day, having AI or a process lined out that optimizes this, you know, whole workflow is really critical. As Danny mentioned, it's not the easiest job, and it's not the most desirable job in a lot of cases.
Right. The initial goals, let's talk about these, how you kind of approached automating this process.
So initially, the slide, the number one there, the largest customer first with the least complex process. So, in other words, we have some customers where they get routine billing information or routine bills
Mhm.
or invoices, and there's a large volume of those. And again, going back to a situation that is absolutely mundane, right? You're doing the same thing over and over again, and from an employee perspective, that's a terrible thing. And so, being able to automate that process, have AI identify those, go ahead and generate those invoices, and then just have a processor from the processing team look at that and go, "Yep, that's it."
Yeah.
Hit a button and send it out. Right? We still have that review process from the processing team, but
Sure.
the quantity of information that can be sent out now has greatly increased, and the accuracy is also improved since we've started all of this. So that has to do with us improving, and it also had to do with the AI
Mhm.
capabilities improving.
Let's talk a little bit about Kevin. Why don't you kind of give us a broad overview of the use case and what you're actually doing in decisions?
So what we're doing, all the fire departments have an ordinance or something that gives them the right to build that has a fee schedule on it. But we're actually feeding that to AI, and then AI is parsing it out and finding all the different what we call labels, or which are basically actions that can be built for. So it finds all these actions out. We categorize those actions as to the type of run that those actions would be found. And where we're at now is on what we're going to show you is when it gets to the automobile. So when it's a mobile property and there's an incident of some sort that involves mobile property, then the process we're going to show you kicks in and goes through the process.
That's actually a really good segue into our demo. Can you actually take a look, or can we take a look at what you've built, Kevin?
Yeah.
There we go. I can
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. You see it?
Yep.
Okay, so the first thing we did is said we're going to have a ton of prompts. So we need a way to manage our prompts in a central location without having to go to each individual flow and adjust our form prompt. So we kind of, Derek helped us and we came up with the prompt hub. And basically what it is, it's a way just to manage all your prompts. So where we're going to be looking is right here, and we have motor vehicle claims, and we have these 4 prompts, and these 4 prompts are grouped together because it's a conversation from one prompt to the next. So we present the data to the model, and then we just ask single individual questions about it, which we found that rather than lumping everything together, even though some of the newer models can handle that, lumping everything together and submit a question isn't really the best. The best is to give them all the information, give the model all the information, then ask singular questions, however many you need to chain together in a process. Or if you don't want to change your conversation, just represent the claim data every time and ask a new question about it. And that's kind of what this does, except this is a conversation.
So by breaking up the prompts, you think you're getting a higher level of accuracy?
Oh, definitely.
Cool.
Here's a prompt, and it's asking a very simple question. Is this a motor vehicle accident, and how long did it take? Okay, it's a whole lot of prompt just for that, but it gives an answer. And then we take that and we say, okay, it is a motor vehicle accident, and it's under a certain amount of time. So it goes through decisions now, takes a flow, and says, okay, your rule directs it over to this next step. And then if it meets those criteria, that's under a certain amount of minutes, and it's a motor vehicle accident, then it follows this process. And so then we have our next question, and we're assuming that the data has already been given about the claim. So the model already knows about the claim. All we're doing here is we're asking a very specific question, and this right here is an indication for a flow at runtime to go get the data we need. That is the data, the labels that with the billable actions that are relevant to this type of run. So we're not handling a bunch of irrelevant information. We're using decisions to trim down what we hand it so it knows exactly what to look through. You could also do another label here, another variable here to add like examples. Start simple, throw it all at AI. If it works, great. If it doesn't, add an example. If that doesn't work, add a few more examples and then take it on to the next steps. So this is how we manage the prompts. We'll go to this, and then this area right here, this is the claims tracking part. This is going to relate to the data mining we were talking about earlier. Sorry about this is live system, so it'll be updating off and on. And basically, all of these are the different states that our system calls out to decision to say the claims just reached this state. So we got webhooks throughout our entire system that call back the decisions and update it as claims get to certain points in the process. And it builds our entity, our case entity that is now passed the data to the process mining, which you'll see in a second. So what we're doing is we want to get these claims as early as possible in the process. We want to start trying to figure things out. So we decided at the point the client actually submits the claim to us, we track it, but track stuff before that. But at this point is when we're going to start our AI process. There's several things that happen. One of them is what I'm about to show you. So then how we manage all this is these are all our departments, and and it's constantly updating. But in these departments, they see they're active for motor vehicle. So there's a staging for motor vehicle, active for motor vehicle, and this tells us, okay, they've reached this point, so they're going through the flow process, and they're including all their motor vehicle accidents in this AI process, but nothing else. So, and it's all handled through decision flows. That's pretty basic. So then what we have right here is the active runs, and then here's the stage runs. So these are all the active departments that are actively, AI is firing against all of our departments, right? But it's not being showed to the processor until we've reviewed it and make sure that it's giving us good information. It's actually going to be a good fit. And then we make it active. So these are all stage departments. And so these are runs that have come in for these stage departments, and they're at different states and stuff. But this is telling us AI looked at this run right here, and I've already looked at this run, but AI looked at this run, and I want to review the whole AI conversation. So here's the first part of the conversation. Here's the incident that the flow grabbed and added to the prompt. And the response AI gave me, all I said is this motor vehicle and how long?
Right.
So it comes back. Yes, it's a motor vehicle and it's 38 minutes long. So that met the criteria to go on further down the process. So now we go to the next question and we're telling it to find us our labels, find us our billable action that's in this incident.
Gotcha.
And then AI responds. It found this billable action in there. And then what I've learned over time is to always add a justification and a confidence level, because what this really helps is the future as you're fine-tuning your prompt, engineering your prompts. You look at this and you can say, oh, that's what AI saw in that narrative. So now I can adjust the prompts, because vagueness sometimes is our enemy and hallucinations are our enemy, because if you don't specifically tell AI models not to dream up something, they will dream it up.
They will.
And so what we do here, and then we also have a flow that if this confidence level is below 85, well, then we ignore the answer.
Kick it.
And we say it's a miss.
Gotcha.
Okay. So it finds the main labels, then it finds the additional labels. This is additional features that can be built for. And in this case, it found none. And it was confident that it found none.
Are those just like optional ones, kind of like other on a form? Or
Yeah. This is like for extra stuff like an extrication, adds money to the process. And then these are tools used, and it looks for tools being used, and you have to have a tool. It has to be hydraulic powered. There's criteria that we have to meet in order to be fair. I mean, because I used the hammer on the hood, I can't.
Right. Gotcha.
And then the last thing it does is looks for materials used for absorbance and all the different words. And this one's particularly hard because I was a firefighter for a long time, and we have jargon. Okay.
Right.
So we have things we call pigs. Well, the average person's going to think of a pig. Well, for us, it's a diking material for diking flows of hazardous material. So we have a lot of those little slang words. What I have found is that if you just give AI an example of a slang word, it picks it up. So you have to kind of give it examples of some of the slang. It hits a lot of them right out of the box, but you got to add to it a little bit. So after you review this, so we reviewed this guy here, and I've reviewed these already, so I kind of know it's right. So now I know this fire department is getting fairly accurate information. So this is live. So I can just set this department as active right now. Now their data is going through AI, it always has been, but now it's being presented to the actual humans on the other end that are processing the claim. So now that department is now making this process is making it easier for the processor, because the majority of the work's done. All they got to do is just say, yep, that's right, and sit. And then so the final thing is to look at the accuracy of things. And so we see it went down 0.2% since we talked about last. But this is today's data. This is live on the spot. All of these runs went straight through. AI nailed it, which is the majority of them. That's the ones you wanted.
Right.
Then we got the ones that now the processor said, no, that wasn't quite right. I had to do a little something. I had to fix a little something. So now we can go in and look into, I can compare them. Here's the two different ones. They said there was some type of debris there or something. So you can come in here and you can look at these and we can compare it. And I go through the same process that we did in the other end, and I can look at it But what this allows me to do here is go back and say, you know what, there's some vagueness here. Go back and tweak my prompt a little bit. Say, okay, for this department, maybe I need to add this little bit of extra information in the example. So when I go get the billable actions at the same time, I get another bit of data that is what I call special instructions for billing, right? And that's
Right.
specific to that fire department. So if I catch a trend with a fire department, I can add to the prompt on the fly for that department and say, hey, do this a little different for this department. And then if the AI picks it up, and in the prompts, I say, give priority to special instructions. And so anything that's generic in the prompt that most everybody use, the special instructions overrule that rule, and it follows the special instruction rule.
The
And then
prompt
it
hub
comes up
is,
with the process.
yeah, the prompt hub is amazing, right? Being able to kind of centralize all of your prompts and then have it, in an easy place, and to be able to see their interconnectedness and dependencies.
Yeah,
Derek, tell us a little bit about Project Hub. Is this making its way into the platform?
Yeah, so we actually for version 9.3 of decisions, it's we actually built one into the product. It's slightly different than the view we're showing you today. But yes, it is a new feature of version 9.3 of decisions.
I love it. Kevin, can you go back to the MVI line item screen? Let's talk about that accuracy that you're seeing. And Steve, I wanted to get your take, right? So you guys, by running this process that you were doing manually, had people pulling that information from all these different places and entering it into other systems and manually reviewing. Now, artificial intelligence is straight through processing almost 80% of those cases. And then that team is now only focused on those ones that require special attention. Steve, how many claims did you process in 24? I know we got a couple of months left here, but like what kind of volume are we talking about?
On the claim side of the house, I don't know if I've got a good number off the top of my head. I'm going to say 40,000.
So 80% of those, now think of the labor hours associated with that, right? And slashing that by 80%, and then reallocating the energy and the resources and the institutional knowledge of those teams on just reviewing the ones that require human attention.
Right. We absolutely, see this, especially as it continues to evolve, being a game changer in our industry, right? And so we jumped in early. We knew that when we started, right? And we knew the one thing that would certainly happen would be change. And this is
The only
engineered in
constant.
exactly. And with decisions, being able to make those changes quickly, having things like the prompt hub, where in real time, like Kevin just mentioned, on the fly, we can make an adjustment. There is the ability inside of the processes that we built to switch between the large language models with the slider. We can literally, if ChatGPT rolls out a better model than Google, then we can switch from Google to ChatGPT or vice versa. I think currently we're using ChatGPT more than Google, but we have found that in specific areas, one performs better than the other. So
Go ahead.
no, the versatility of the decisions platform, and again, allowing us to make it easy to call the different APIs, allowing us to manage the prompts, that really gave us the courage to jump into this AI pool, if you would, and just go after it. And so it's definitely enabled us in a way that prior to us having decisions where we're just putting down hard code, that took 4 to 5 times longer to facilitate those kind of changes. It's been a game changer for us.
I'm so glad that you brought that up. Q2 of last year is when we released our ChatGPT module, or OpenAI module, excuse me. And recently in our 9.3 release, just about a month or so ago, we released modules for Claude and for Gemini. Brian, I hope that answers your question. But yeah, we wanted to give our customers the capability to gauge which models are best for performance, but also to weigh the costs, right? If you're going to be running millions and millions of transactions against AI and it costs you so much, you want to know how much that number is and you want a competitive price on those transactions. So really cool.
Well, in the newer 9.3, we're playing with that already in our dev environment. It also makes models more switchable. You can switch through the models too. So you can have certain processes in there where the AI is calling on one model, say the mini or the flashes, where you just want a quick, simple question. Then you can use another model that for another question. And this could be right there in that prompt hub. The first question, you could use one model. The second question, you could use another one. It could actually switch to ChatGPT for the first one, and then Google for the next one, Gemini for the next one. 93 has made that very easy to do compared to this is 8 you're seeing here. 93,
Right.
which we're playing with, has made that very easy to go through and do. So
Awesome. You guys, I think one of the things that I want to emphasize too is that Kevin, you didn't go to MIT, right? Not a software
No.
engineer, not a developer.
30-year
You guys
trip
built
happened.
it, and how long did it take you guys to build this?
The model you're looking at right now, it's ongoing, but probably we rolled it out in about 3 weeks,
3 weeks.
give or take.
That's awesome. That's amazing, man. I love that. That's such a great story. And you guys have recently had some a run in with my good friend Mark Klein, my process mining ninja. Mark, why don't you kind of set up a little bit about what we've done in process mining for fire recovery?
Sure, absolutely. So when I was introduced to fire recovery, it seemed like they were facing some challenges with the claims workflow in regards to grabbing a lot of data from obviously what we just talked about, but looking at those external departments, a lot of complex data. It was, from my perspective, it was difficult to track where bottlenecks were, what was happening, what information was missing, specifically what information was missing to finalize claims, and there was really no visibility present to witness all of that information. The other thing that we could talk about is what the outcome was, right? So we looked at process mining, we mapped out through our discovery process every step, and we will show you this in a moment, but every step of the claims workflow, uncovering inefficiencies, pinpointing areas for improvement. We took a look at each individual department. We looked at resources that were involved in the flow and the claims processing. We quickly identified missing information. We talked about refactoring some of the case structure because this is a case management application at the heart of decisions using a case entity. And really what I found was, and hopefully Steve and Kevin would agree, but reducing some of the times on the claims processing, communication has increased. So that was improved between fire recovery and the departments. I call them departments, but the fire stations. And then a smoother workflow,
Right.
faster, accurate, more accurate, and then just enhancing the application from a whole.
Process mining really helps you understand the difference between expectations and reality, right? If you were just to draw out a workflow like on a whiteboard, we have it in our heads that the anticipated user of that workflow or system is going to follow that primrose path that we lay out for them. And process mining gives us tools to understand what's really happening. And it's rarely as we expect, right?
100%. So that's what we're looking at here. These expectations versus reality. The graph on the left, that's a claims process that was discussed generically, but discussed meaning Tell me more about your process. So when you talk to a process owner, a lot of times they feel like the process is very serialized. They feel as though there's a streamline of activities. Again, the graphic on the left. When we turn on process mining and do initial process discovery, it exposes what we see on the right, meaning that we are discovering additional activities around the process. We're also discovering multiple variations of the same process. And anytime you see the graph on the right, there's uh, obviously some areas of improvement, but there's also opportunity for optimization here. So, very quickly can see the difference between the two. That is the power of process mining on the right.
Let's talk about the specific use case in relation to fire recovery for process mining. Can you guys kind of walk us through this?
Well, us or Mark?
Mark,
Sure. I mean, so Fire Recovery was using decisions for a while, um, and obviously building out their processes. Met Kevin a couple times, obviously, at some trainings that we talked about earlier. Talked about this project a lot. Derek was involved in this project a lot. So there was a lot of hands on deck here. And after they finished building or coming to the tail end of building, um, that's when process mining was introduced. From what I've heard from the folks at Fire Recovery, they really truly wish that they were using process mining at the forefront of this project, so they didn't have to go back and refactor after process mining exposed some areas of uh, optimization.
yeah, great process
Definitely.
discovery tool, right? And we probably need to do a better job aligning process mining earlier in our sales process, right? I think it's kind of an unknown gem. It's starting to get a lot more traction, right? We're in the running for a Gartner Magic Quadrant for this platform. So let's dive in and take a look at the specifics of what's actually happening behind the scenes here in process mining.
For sure. Let me start sharing my screen. And so I hopped right into the process mining screen, and it so happened to have this animation turned on. So this is very similar to the slide that was just showing up on the screen, where we're doing process discovery, but now we're in the process mining platform. And I do have some animation turned on. And what I mean by that is that we can see live case data flowing through the process. What you see here in this graphic, which was automatically rendered when we made a connection to the decisions process, is we can see, and this relates back to what Kevin was showing, we can see each of the states or stages that a claim goes through. You'll see that this map is color coded, it's visually appealing because the tool is trying to make our eyes go in certain areas. So, for instance, this activity is a dark blue because it's more popular. This activity is light blue because it's less popular. More importantly, is this diamond below. This is a time-based value that represents average duration for this particular activity. But as I move downstream, you'll certainly see um, other diamonds that are changing from red to yellow to orange. This tool automatically defines or points out the longest taking activities in our process, maybe somewhere where we need to focus first. The other thing to note real quick before I exit the animation are the handovers, the lines in between the activities. What you'll notice here is because there's a instant transition because decisions is handling the state changes. There's some trigger actions and trigger flows. You'll see these times. We'll see the volume of cases that go down a particular pathway represented in a thick line. If there was a slowdown or a long waiting time, these lines would be red. But just to give you an effect of what's happening in this graphic.
Visual, easy to understand.
Yeah, for sure. Just to set the stage a little bit, do have a couple of filters on. We're looking only at the last 90 days of cases. I know we talked about how many cases. Oops. And so what we'll see here is we're looking at only 12% of the cases out of 94,000 cases that process mining is aware of, just to have a smaller sample set for the last 3 months. Um, but we can certainly look at all of this slider here. We're looking at all the activities. And then with this slider, I didn't want to make the screen too busy, but we're only looking at the most popular 10% of the variants of this process, right? And so we can make these changes to see the different variations. But I'll let Steve start talking about what this process is, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our claim workflow process, as you guys have heard us speaking about. And the long and short, to jump back a little bit about a couple things that were said, what we did not understand before we turned this on is that our process wasn't quite so linear, right? And so you turn this on and you see that there are way more paths occurring in the process than you could ever comprehend just talking with the team. And in the past, the way that we evaluated what needed to be done was talking with the team, getting feedback from the team, which is absolutely valuable in any organization. But when you can drill into it and actually put numbers on, again, the different paths that are taken for these claims to get paid or sent out, if you would, then it's a game changer, right? Now you're seeing real life data flow through the system from each step, and in some cases, not even fully understanding or why is this number and why is that number, and then going back to the business team and saying, hey, what's going on in this particular area, and they go, oh yeah, that's when this happened, right? And we go, oh, okay, well, that's showing up as a bottleneck in the system, and it takes an extended amount of time, and that is allows us to literally, again, the color coding that you see on the screen there is uh, identify some of that, but it literally allowed us to understand, hey, here's where we need to focus our work. And if you guys do any kind of development, you understand that development work is time consuming and expensive. And so part of the value of decisions is reducing that cost and that time. But also you reduce it even more when you're focusing in the development on really what you need to be focusing on. And so there's the value. And I think I went a little off script here, but
It's okay.
the process, I think that was important to say. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Great.
And working through this process again, if you drilled in there, you can kind of see the labeling of the different things, and it tells you what we're doing. And I think it's kind of self-explanatory from the start of the creation of the claim to the process of determining the responsible party, to creating the line items, to creating the invoice, to maybe updating the line items, to getting it sent out. And you can see there's various different steps involved. Depending on what that tells us is it depends on the quality of the information that we're getting to begin with,
Right.
and why these things are branching off. So what that also tells us is, okay, start upstream. If you take and you get good quality information from the department submitting you this data, right? Then it streamlines this process for you. Right now, you don't jump all around because you had the right information, and now that process does become that straight line that you thought it was anyway, right? That straight line from point A to point B to point C, all the way down through it being sent out and returned back to you paid, right? So that's I don't know. You guys tell me if there's value in talking about each one of these types of steps, but this is a traditional invoicing system where we're getting the data in the invoice on, we're reviewing that data and generating the invoice with like the AI line items that Kevin showed you in the AI process. We're sending those out, and then you'll see big numbers on here because oftentimes we're sending them out multiple times, right? It's not so an invoice may be sent out multiple times. In some cases, you'll see where it circles back, and we realize, oh, we had the wrong responsible party, right? So those kind of things are identified in this as well. And again, uh, helping us to understand that, helping us to understand where the bottlenecks are, and then being able to focus our development resources that we have, which in all honesty are many sometimes, but being able to focus the development resources that we have, which are costly, is also a game changer from, hey, now the work that we're doing is the actual work we need to be doing. And what we gathered from all of this, I'll land the plane here. I don't mean to talk so much, but what we gathered from all of this is that we should have had this in the beginning,
Right.
right? We
Right.
should have started with this, you know. So it's been excellent for us.
So if you go back to the open screen, the first one, where you're showing the whole process.
Sure.
So look, when we first started, we were throwing AI at the process about the second one in, right after we received it, right? Where the client claim is created. We were throwing AI at that. So we started there. And then we started realizing that we're throwing AI at a bunch of stuff that ends up getting removed by the department down the road anyway. So we started moving to a point, and if you go into where a claim submitted right underneath where your cursor is right there, and focus to everything that goes through that, we discovered that that is the best place where to apply AI.
Gotcha.
What that we're doing right now, calculating line items, because we were calculating line items way too early, and we were spending a lot of money in AI that
Right.
wasn't necessary, and we had a terrible percentage rate because the claim is not cleaned up at that point by the department. So we moved it to that point right there. And if you notice, look how many thick lines leave out of there and come in.
Right.
That's where we're hitting the majority of the runs
Yeah.
that actually go further in the process.
I love the insights.
Did you say insights, Danny?
I said insights.
Yeah.
I
Well,
love
that's the other thing that process mining can provide for you. Additional insights on these cases. I know it was. So just as a highlight, one thing that we talked about, just for to keep it relevant, is we talked about the fire departments. So as we've identified here in process mining, where are we receiving these claims? And we can see very quickly that the case count or claim count for rural metro is the highest, right? And then all the other ones behind it. Another thing that we exposed when we turned on process mining was we weren't collecting the information on the resources. We were collecting the information, we just weren't mapping it properly inside of the case entity. So we're doing that now. And so if we go to something like, I think it's called last modified by, or last updated by, now we're capturing our resources and understanding the resource distribution based off the resources that play a role in the process, not just each individual activity. We can actually formulate a cost of this entire process. Just knowing their cost per hour, their labor burden, if you will. I'm hiding that for the sake of this webinar. However, we can formulate a total cost of the process, what our average cost case is. These numbers are, I just haphazardly plugged in numbers for employees. So apologize that these numbers could be higher or lower, but I didn't want to expose all of that information. Very sensitive, but we can look at cheapest activity, most expensive activity, along with the cheapest, most expensive resource. This is all on an activity level with a nice heat map. We could sort it by the average cost case for each of these activities, ascending or descending. But what I also want to mention is if we're looking for a specific attribute of these cases, for instance, maybe what department or what fire department is, our highest average cost per case, something like that. So we can quickly determine that, even though New Buffalo Fire Company only has 4 submissions, they're driving the cost on average up by $4,000.
Right.
Very quickly, right? Or we can flip the script there and say, anyone that's, here's our rural, that's our rural metro, highest frequency of claims, very low case cost on average. Not the lowest, but a lower. right?
Mhm.
And it's a nice heat map to identify that.
Yeah,
Um,
I think the
Go ahead.
ability to like apply values to the resources, right? And then apply SLAs to the process really uncover a lot of these really rich insights. Being able to put dollars and cents to how much inefficiency costs, and then dollars and cents in potential ROI for streamlining that process is really powerful. Steve, did you guys have these kind of insights before you met Mark and started working on this process mining?
Yeah. Again, we had feelings.
Right.
Right. We knew that certain areas of the country, we knew that certain insurance companies, we knew that they were struggles to deal with, but we
Mhm.
couldn't put numbers on it. And that's a fantastic example in another way that this is going to be really helpful to us from the perspective of uh, hey, claims submitted to insurance company, I don't want to name names here, but insurance company XYZ
Mhm.
from the state of Illinois have a really low probability of being paid, and they're costing us money because we're spending way too much time.
Right. You're out
Mhm.
marketing in places where you have zero chance
Yeah.
of success.
Or take that to not only the insurance level, but the
Mhm.
department level. This department is it, the cost recovery percentage for this department is terrible. What's going on? Oh,
Mhm.
they just got a new person who's never used our system or been trained. They never called. They never said a word to us, right? So we
Right.
can get a salesperson on the line with them, get a training for them, and teach them how to use our system and become more effective. And thus, they make more money. We make more money. Everybody's happy.
Love it. I love it.
What's the future for process mining? We had a conversation about creating dashboards.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the goal here is to get some of this data that we see so beneficial out in front of our customers. And so we want to embed these dashboards into our platform that
Uh-huh.
shows, say, the chief of a department, hey, look, here's your performance. And
Right.
by the way, here's the performance of the departments around you. What are you leaving on the table and why? Is it a training issue? Is it because we're not getting the data that we need to submit these claims? And all of that is typically part of it, right? It's
Mhm.
never just one thing. It's always a combination of things. And so being able again to get this out in front of the chiefs, because this impacts the city budgets these days are tough to come by,
Right.
right? And this is something that helps the cities justifies things or our existence to city councils, shows that we value their business and
Mhm.
also how we give value back to them. Right?
Yep.
Here's the value of Fire Recovery USA to your department and your city, and here's the program that we have to help you learn how to do this better.
I love it.
Fantastic.
Stop
Thank you.
sharing, Mark. Let me wrap this up. Guys, what a great presentation today. I mean, the success that you guys have had with this process in such a short time, and the fact that Steve is not Steve Jobs, or excuse me, Kevin is not Steve Jobs. Not a software developer, a fire guy, right? That knows how this process works with the institutional knowledge that comes along with that. Was able to build this in a matter of months, right? Not years. Um, so the big takeaways here, Steve, we've streamlined this claims processing for you. You're getting invoices out more quickly, getting paid more quickly, and now that team with all that institutional knowledge is focused on remediating the 20% that AI doesn't do straight through processing for. Final thoughts?
From
Other
my
than the
perspective,
fact that
yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah.
I was going to say, other than the fact that we looked at our inspection side of the house and we're saying, hey, we can do that here for the inspection fees and all that. So now we've turned our focus over to that area and
Mhm.
we've learned a lesson. We're putting process mining on the inspections first.
I love
And
it.
so now then we're going to take the data we get from process mining and say, okay, now where do we go to make this better? So that's the biggest thing I saw is the fact that process mining was on the wrong end of our flow. We should have put process mining first. And that's the biggest thing I see.
Yeah, you know, the speed with which you guys were able to tie together all these various systems and platforms to do this sort of analysis on an incident report and then be able to build a cost list off of that with which to submit an invoice in such a short time is amazing. And I really love the idea of extending that process mining information through your end user client. That's like an instant way to add value to them in your eye or in their eyes. So really great job, great results. Guys, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Everybody online, thanks for tuning in. Again, my name is Danny, and I'm with Decisions, the no-code automation platform people. If you found some of this interesting today, reach out to us at sales@decisions.com to set up a demo with one of our sales engineers. Check us out if you're on the East Coast. We still have spots open for Submerse, our deep dive training event here at the beach. Great time to come to the beach. All the tourists have come home, and if you're in Austin, Texas, be sure to check us out at Connected Claims USA. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. Have a great afternoon.